Okay, so today's lesson was on parallel lines and transversals and the angle pairs that are formed by parallel lines when we have a transversal. So today was October 1st, 2018, and what I want to start with, all of the angle pairs that you see across the top are all congruent. Now they all have different reasons, but they are all congruent. These last two that you see at the bottom here, those are going to be supplementary. And I want you to pause the video, look at what you have here, and see if you could come up with the reasons why those angles are going to be congruent at the top and supplementary at the bottom. Supplementary just meaning that they equal 180. Congruent meaning they have the exact same angle measure. So pause it and see what you come up with. Okay, so I just made a little note on the side. Congruent angles, same measure. Supplementary angles equal 180. So hopefully on the first one, you saw that these are on the interior. Remember I said if you place your finger in between the parallel lines, it will cover up the interior angles. So this first one is interior angles. And because it's on opposite sides of the transversal, for example, I could say this pair that I'm highlighting in purple, those will be alternate interior angles, and alternate interior angles or congruent. This second pair in the middle, put your finger in the middle. The two angles that's showing are on the outside, meaning they're on the exterior. And they're on opposite sides of the transversal. And because they're on opposite sides, these are alternate exterior angles. The last pair here, these are angles. One is on the interior, one is on the exterior. But what happens is these two angles are in the exact same position. So these two angles will be called corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are congruent. Now, down to the bottom, we have supplementary angles. Supplementary angles are two angles. When you add them, they equal 180. So the angle pair that you have here on this first one, they're considered supplementary. And the reason being that they're finger in the middle, so I'm covering up the angles. They are interior angles. These are same side interior angles. And same side interior angles also go by consecutive interior angles. Okay? So I'm just abbreviating it for the sake of time. And then also here on this pair, I'll actually put two pairs on there, and I'm kind of giving it away with the word pair. But we have a pair of angles that's sitting on a line here. And if I cover up the bottom, I got a pair of angles that's sitting on the line that's parallel to my finger. So since I have a pair of angles that's sitting on a line, these are a linear pair of angles. So that means the two that's at the bottom, when I add those, would equal 180. And the two that's on the diagonal or the transversal would also add together and equal 180. And I did put that there in the right color code because these two angles are alternate interior angles, bringing it all together because those are alternate interior in red. And then the two blue angles happen to be corresponding angles. So it all kind of goes together. All right, let's do some problems where we have some numbers. Okay, I hope that what I just did is not as confusing, but I was trying to make each of the ones that we just discussed have numbers, giving it a problem. So the very first one that you have here, and I'm going to zoom in so we can see a little bit better. And I apologize about my little handwriting boo-boo, but somebody broke my tape thingy, my whiteout tape. So I have to go old school. So these right here, the two angles are alternate interior. That's the ones that's in red. So if this angle here is 72 degrees, they are congruent. Then the angle where the question mark is also going to be 72 degrees. Okay, and if I wanted to know the measure of the other angles, all I would have to do is take 180 and subtract it from 72. And so the other angles that's in purple, the other pair of alternate interior angles, is going to be 108 degrees. Okay? I was trying to write it small enough so that you can see. Now, I'll just come back to the rest later. So that should be your angle measures. When I move over here, I had a pair of alternate exterior angles, where here I'm giving you an angle is 70 degrees, but it has nothing to do with our pairs. So it seems. But if I know that this acute angle on the inside is 70 degrees, then to find the exterior angle, those make up a linear pair, because that's two angles right here that's sitting on a line. So since they both as a linear pair or form a linear pair, then to find the other angle, I would do 180 minus 70, and I would get 110 degrees. That means this angle right here in red is 110 degrees. And because these two are alternate exterior angles, where the question mark is also 110 degrees. Those two are equal. Corresponding angles to the side, I have a question mark here. Well, if this angle is 95 degrees, hopefully you know that the top angle right here is also 95 degrees. Okay? Now, let's go on to the supplementary ones. Down at the bottom here, I have same side interior or consecutive interior angles, one after the other. So if this angle up at the top in red is 45 degrees, then to find the other angle, what I'm going to do is subtract 180 minus 45. And so the angle that's in blue with the two double arcs, and I'm going to just draw an arrow, that angle right there is going to be 135 degrees. Meaning the other angle over here, whoops, my pens are not doing too good, is 135 degrees as well. Okay, so that means the other two, and I'm going to just make it obvious, is 45 degrees. Because remember, going all the way around is 360 degrees. So if I was to add 135 twice plus 45 twice, I would get 360 degrees. Let's keep going to the right. I have a linear pair here. Now, if this angle here is 60 degrees, and we talked about these being a pair of alternate interior angles, then the angle that's in red is also 60 degrees. To find the angle that's in blue, and you can pause these at any time if you want to check and see if you understand it, I would take, and this is the angle that's in blue, I would do 180 minus 60, which would leave me with 120 degrees, meaning the angle that's in blue is 120 degrees. And like the one at the bottom, the angle with the question mark is also 120 degrees, no matter what. So meaning this angle here, because these two are considered vertical angles, this little tiny, well, that obtuse angle in there is 120, and the angle over here is 60 degrees. Now, 120 plus 120 plus 60 plus 60, that would all give you 360 degrees. Hopefully this helps a little bit. Okay, Miss Gable wants to do a few more. Okay, the one that I picked just now is for, well, not obvious reasons necessarily, but because I like these kind. Okay, so it says solve for X, and what you see right here in the corner, that is not a mistake. That's a box, meaning that we have 90 degrees. And if we have two parallel lines, and I left off the sign, the symbol for parallel lines there, what that means is that really and truly, these two angles are a pair of alternate interior angles because they're on the inside. So I can say that for that reason, since they're alternate interior angles, that X plus 101 has to equal 90 degrees or 90. Now, another reason why I can say that those two should equal is because these two angles are going to be supplementary, meaning if this one is 90, then this one have to be 90. And so if those are supplementary or same side interior angles, then this one over here must also be 90 degrees. So we finished this one in one step. The only thing that we have to do is subtract 101 on both sides. So when we subtract 101 on both sides, we get x equals a negative 11. And so to check to see if our answer makes sense, we can plug in a negative 11 here for x, and a negative 11 plus 101 is going to be 90 degrees. So we know that we did it right. Okay, here's another problem that I found, and I wanted to make sure that we got to talk about these. What you have here is a pair of angles that's sitting on a line, and since we have a pair of angles on a line, we call those a linear pair. So together, when I add these two angles, they should equal 180 degrees. So let's make ourselves an equation that we can solve to find out what x is and also what the measure of those angles are. So my equation, what I'm going to do, like I did before, I'm going to add 41x and 20x because that's my only two like terms. So here we go. 20 and 41 is going to be 61x, and I don't have anything to go with the 3, so I just bring it along, and together it all equals 180. So then my two steps to simplify would be to add 3, and what you do to one side you got to do to the other. So that's going to leave me with 61x equals 183. Okay, and then one more step. So all we did was add to make the 3 go away because we needed to be a 0. Then the last step is going to be to divide both sides by 61. Yes, they're big numbers, but it's not something that you can't handle. So x equals 3. Now, just in case if I wanted to find out what those angles are to prove that what I just did is right, what I would do is take that 3 and plug it into those equations that we have there. So what I would get here on this side would be, and I'm going to write it here, hopefully we can see that, would be for the first angle, 20x. So for that angle, what I would do is plug in a 3 for x. And so what that tells me is that that angle, that specific one, is 60 degrees. And I'm calling it that because I don't have no numbers or no points to name them. So that angle is 60 degrees. In order to know if I just did this right, this angle here must equal 120 degrees because 60 and 120 together equal 180. So here, I'm going to do it over here. I have the other angle is equal to 41x minus 3. So what happens is for x, I'm going to plug in 3. 41 times 3 minus 3. Okay, so 41 times 3, 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times 1 is 3, so that's going to be 123 minus 3, and just like that, we have our angle measure, which is 120 degrees. So my other angle is 120 degrees, and if it seems like I'm going too fast, take a second and pause the video. Of course, you can turn on closed caption if that will help you, but I'm zooming out so that you can see the full amount of work that we did. So we have our two angles here as 120 and 60 degrees, and we also found out that x was 3. Hopefully this will help you with your practice. Don't forget to do your homework tonight. It's due tomorrow. Don't forget, Ms. Gable wants you to try, ask questions if you need to, and Ms. Gable loves you very much. Have a good night.